All right, we're gonna do a little bit of level 2 ankle work here for dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. I've got a variety of props here, so I'll give you a second to go grab some of them. Let me explain real quick what you're gonna need. Some sort of weight, either a kettlebell or a dumbbell, nothing super heavy, but something that you feel is kind of appropriate for where you're at. We're going to use it to work on ankle dorsiflexion. And I've got a bunch of blocks here. We're going to use that for the second half, a little bit in the first half, definitely in the second half, where we work on plantar flexion. You could also grab blankets, towels, couch pillows, whatever, to kind of get yourself into a comfortable position. So if you need some time, just hit pause on the video here, go gather up that stuff, and then I'll meet you back down here on the floor where we're going to start with working on our ankle cars, right? Those controlled articular rotations. So come on down, and you could either use a block to do this, so setting yourself up with leg outstretched, propped up on the block to work on your ankle circles, or just lean back and kind of hold on to this leg and do the circles here. So I want you to focus on pointing, carving a circle to the left, toes up to the sky, over to the right, and then pointing to carve that circle down towards the floor. So making the biggest ankle circle that you can without rotating the whole leg or the lower leg like we do in knee cars. So focusing on this circle, thinking about it as a quadrant, a circle with 4 quadrants in it, noticing what quadrant gives you the most trouble or which one isn't as smooth as you would like it to be. Switch directions if you haven't already. And now I want you to go back to that quadrant that you think needs a little bit more work, and you're just going to work in that quadrant. So if we were talking about my circle and I was saying this upper right hand corner was the most difficult part, I would start here and circle to the quadrant and come back up, right? So I would just work that one section. For me, it's typically this lower quadrant that's the hardest one. So spend just a little bit of time here working in 1 and or 2 of those quadrants that you think are the most in need of extra work. You might start to feel extra warmth or heat happening as you do this. And it's perfectly fine to get cracking, snapping, popping, as long as there's no acute pain, okay? Finish with one big circle, and then let's do the same thing on the other side. So again, either using the block to prop up your leg or leaning back like I'm doing, just holding on. Starting with some simple circles, coming just from the ankle. Slow and under control. Starting to pay attention to those quadrants. Noticing what's moving well, what needs a little more attention. Okay, now go to one of those quadrants that you think needs help. Hone in and just tick-tock between the 2 edges. We want to bang out a couple reps here. Maybe go to another quadrant that you think needs a little bit more help. Something that you'd like to see move a little better. Finish with one nice big ankle circle. And then let's get into our combat stance here on the floor. So here's where I'm going to start to make use of some of these props. So I want to be down on the back foot here. If you need to wrap up a towel and put it underneath that ankle in order to get comfortable, I use a block here kind of underneath my right cheek to set myself up. And I want to talk real quick about where your knee is going to track for this. So oftentimes there's kind of like a natural dorsiflexion and then there's pseudo dorsiflexion. So natural would be the center of your knee tracking over the second and first toe. So sometimes when I get into this position, close my left eye, I look down, put my finger kind of between my first two toes, and just see that it's lining up with the center of my knee, right? So now I know everything's tracking in the right direction. You might have less dorsiflexion, less ability to go forwards here than say if you sent the knee over the outside of the foot, right? So now I can actually, you can see I can even get further forwards, but my knee is way outside. So I want to work on that true dorsiflexion. So get yourself set up here. The whole sole of the foot needs to stay on the ground for this. And here's where you're going to bring in your weight, and you're just going to put it on that knee here. So you need to choose what weight is going to be best and most appropriate for you. Just getting yourself lined up here. We're going to hang out in a little bit of a stretch here. And then we're going to do some PAILS and rails. So you've seen this before with a couple other things, but what we're going to work on is PAILS would be progressive angles. So we're going to push the foot like a gas pedal into the floor. We're going to ramp up from 0, no effort, to our greatest max contraction. And then we're immediately going to follow it up with our rails contraction, a regressive. So we're going to try to pull the toes or try to lift the foot by activating the top side muscles, thinking toes to the shin. And we're going to count down from 10. We'll stretch, and then we'll do that again. We'll switch and go to the other side, okay? So let's start to ramp up this PAILS contraction, the pushing. You get to choose how you want to do this. You'll see me kind of hook my chin over this kettlebell to create some leverage and some stability here. I don't think I've actually cued this while using the kettlebell before, so this could get interesting. But start to ramp up the push down in your foot here. So from nothing at all to 20% of your max effort. And again, the whole foot stays down, so it's just simply the pushing. Don't lift the heel. 40, 60, push hard, 80, all out. Push as hard as you can into the floor. Keep pushing that knee forward. Push, 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 push. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Rails opposite. Pull, try to pull the toes up off the floor for 10, 9, fire up all these muscles. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stretch. So if you were videoing yourself, maybe you can even see it on mine, I have a little bit more forward action here. I've been able to eke out a few more degrees of dorsiflexion here, just from going through that sequence. So we're going to stay here for a quick stretch, maybe adjust yourself into a position that's comfortable, and we're going to do that whole thing over, PAILS, rails. We'll do some ankle circles, some cars, and then we'll switch sides, okay? Just check in and see that the center of your knee is tracking over that first and second toe. Okay, let's start to ramp up a PAILS, a push contraction here. So 20% push, driving the gas pedal to the floor. 40%, 60%, keep the heel down. 80%, 100%, push hard, push, 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 as hard as you can. Opposite, rails. Pull toes towards the nose. 10, 9, 8. If you get a cramp, fight through it. 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep going. 3, 2, 1. Good job. Pause in this stretch. Maybe take note. Did you open up or get some new degrees of mobility here? You haven't earned them necessarily yet. We've just opened them up, and now we need to start to continue this work and then work in those new ranges of motion, okay? So take that weight down, set it off to the side, sit back, and let's just do a couple ankle circles here in any way, any setup that works for you. Just kind of feeling out the entire range of motion, and then we'll set ourselves up and go on the other side. Good. Okay. Side 2. And know that what happens on side 1 might be different than what happens on side 2 and vice versa. So just work with what you've got where you are right now. All right. So set yourself up. Find that knee tracking, center of the knee tracking over the first and second toe. Bring that weight up. Find that stretch. And you might need a different weight for each side, and that's totally fine, okay? So you shouldn't be feeling any pain here. If you are, don't use the weight, and simply just leverage your upper body into that leg, okay? So focus on the stretch here for another minute or so. Take this time to readjust, refine your position, make sure you're tracking in the right positions. Take a couple breaths. And we're just going to do two rounds. I consider this one round, these 2 sets, 1 round. And that's where you should start, okay? Do this a couple times over the course of a couple weeks, and then you can build up from there. But don't be super gung-ho to do too much right away. We want to work up to this, all right? So let's start to ramp up that push, that gas pedal down into the floor. So 20% push. 40%, 60%. You're not pushing off this other leg either. It's all coming from this left foot. 80%, drive hard. 100%, push, push, push. 3, 2, 1, rails. Pull toes towards the nose. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stretch. Okay, so refine your position if you need to. Adjust. You want to get to a point where, you know, your body weight is supported so that you can really focus on this ankle, all right? So this configuration might work for you. You might have to rig up something else, but this is where you get to take an active part in this whole process. So we're going to do 1 more round, and then we're going to flip over and work on plantar flexion. And that we can do both feet at the same time. So it speeds up the process just a little bit. All right, ready? Let's start to ramp up that push. 20%, 40%, 60%, 80, 100%. Push hard. 3, 2, 1, rails. Pull hard. Toes up towards the nose. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Refine your position. Stretch here for about 30 seconds. It's hard to do that and cue it at the same time. Usually I'm just grimacing and making tons of faces and breathing really heavy, but I'm trying to spare you guys. Okay, finish that breath, set the weight down, do a couple ankle circles here. Test out that ankle, see how it's doing. Slow and under control. Good. For this next one, you don't need any weight, so set it off to the side. But what you will need is maybe a couple blocks or your pillows. We want to come into this position sitting on the heels. So if this is too much knee flexion, or if you've got a gap here underneath the ankles, slide the towel or the blanket under there. We want to be laces down. We're not tucking the toes under. You might even want to start stacking up some blocks to accommodate your body here. Find a position that works for you, okay? With this round, we're going to do pails and rails. We're going to push the foot into the floor like you were, kind of like, I think about it like a dolphin kick, right? Pushing the foot into the floor. And then the rails contraction will be pulling the toes up off the floor or pointing the feet as hard as you can, okay? So for me, I can sit on my heels pretty comfortably here. And again, we want these things to be lined up. So try to avoid coming into kind of like hero's pose where your butt drops between the heels. You want to sit on top directly or via the blocks, okay? So find a stretch here. Maybe it's here. Maybe you walk the hands back. Maybe you push the knees up a little bit, or lift them up, I should say. So find that stretch. And then we're going to start to ramp up that PAILS contraction. So pushing the feet into the floor. So start out by 20%, 40%, 60%. Keep pushing. This is a weird one. It might feel really weird, and that's okay. 80%, driving the top of the laces, the foot into the floor. 100%. 3, 2, 1. Rails, contract and pull the toes and the tops of the feet off the floor. 10, 9, 8. You might get a cramp here. Keep going. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. If you get a cramp in your calf, sit forwards. Maybe take a little bit of that kind of runner's calf stretch here. Maybe add an ankle smush. Don't get too comfortable because we're going to do another round. So really just use this as an opportunity to release that tension and set yourself up for round 2. Whew. Find the stretch. Okay, set yourself up here. Two more breaths. Start to ramp up that push. So leveraging the top of the feet into the floor. 20%. 40%. Keep a neutral spine here. Try not to send the tailbone out. Keep neutral. 60. Keep pushing. 80, keep driving hard. You might feel the muscles on the front side of the shins light up here. That's what we want. 100% drive. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Pull the toes and the tops of the feet off the floor. 10, 9, 8. Keep going. Come on. 7, 6, 5. I'm really talking to myself. 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Maybe stretch out those legs. Take that ankle smush. So there's some work to start building strength and resilience in your ankles, your feet, your shins, your calves. So like I said, work through this just as we've done it. When you're ready to do more, you could add another, like a third mini set to this contained set before you start expanding and doing, you know, multiple rounds of the entire video. Okay, well, hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know, but give that one a try and let me know what you think.